Hey babe, what do you want for lunch?
How about a BLT?
Yes.
Right there! Right there!
Bread. Here you go, babe. 1 BLT.
Thanks, babe. Mmm, so good. Is that new bacon?
Yeah, it's a lechonk. Today, we're gonna find out if we could remove scratches from this Vaporeon card with some bacon fat, and some other things around the house as well too. Then we're gonna rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 to see how well it did. But first, I'm gonna need an outfit change. I think we're ready. So for this experiment, we're gonna need some extra Vaporeons, and luckily for me, I got some volunteers. So in order for us to be really scientific, we're gonna tape off half the card so that way we could do a little before and after on the left side versus the right side. So let's get into it. Okay, so for the purposes of science, we're gonna tape off half of this so that way we can compare left to right as an A/B test. Aha, all right. Now I'm just gonna do this a bunch more times. All right, here we go. Okay, look, we have 2 extra Vaporeons. These are safe. So let me grab some sleeves and sleeve these bad boys back up, okay? You 2 are safe. First up is bacon fat. So you might be asking, why are we using Vaporeon? Well, the reason why we're using Vaporeon is because if you look at the artwork, it's pretty minimal, so the scratches really show up. So this makes it an excellent candidate to actually test this experiment. So we actually have a bunch of other Vaporeons here that we're gonna sacrifice, unfortunately, for the name of science, but every single one of these Vaporeons are pretty well played. Let's go ahead and start with the bacon fat. I think what I'm gonna do is just gonna apply it straight to the card, okay? You can already start to see that it's starting to pop a little bit, probably because the fat is actually moisturizing the card and giving it a little bit of life. So I don't know if you guys ever washed a car before, but when a car is wet, it looks almost perfect. So I think it's giving essentially the same effect here. So I think that about does it. So let me go ahead and show you guys. Wow, look at that, right? Like you could definitely see there's a lot of bacon fat on the card itself, which is the reason why it pops, but we're gonna wipe off some of the excess, but immediately you can actually see that the card is starting to pop already. So let me go ahead and just move that out of the way. I'll grab one of these little cotton swabs here, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe off all that extra. So you can see it really pops already, right? I mean, you could definitely still see some of the scratches, but it definitely feels like it moisturized the card and basically brought it up to life a little bit. So next up, we're gonna do a little bit of car wax. So the reason why I think this works, okay, in terms of removing some of the scratches is the same reason why we actually use it on cars to actually remove some of the scratches as well too. So there's actually wax in here, which is not dissimilar to fat. So just like the bacon fat, you can actually see is really starting to pop already. I mean, every single one of these cars is gonna have a little variance in terms of how beat up they are, how many scratches they have. But this is starting to look like it's gonna work already. All right, so this is done. Let's go ahead and pop that off to the side and move on to the next one. So next up, we're gonna do a little bit of lotion. It's interesting because every single one of these, every single time I apply a product, you can actually see that it's starting to pop a little bit more. Like the colors are looking a little bit more vivid. It's looking a little bit more saturated. So this one, I don't know if it's actually as good as the bacon fat or the car wax, but you could definitely see a lot of scratches still. Next up, we have toothpaste. You could definitely see there's a lot of scratches on this card. Also, this card, hopefully, it's gonna smell a little minty fresh afterwards as well too.
Unspecified brand toothpaste. The Fresh Maker.
This one might actually end up creating more scratches on the card, but let's go ahead and just see what happens. I'm just gonna apply it liberally across the card like this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and spread it around. I could definitely see that the silver here is really starting to pop already. Okay, whoa, that actually did a lot more than I thought it was going to. But you could definitely still see there's like a little bit of like the straight lines from the wiping motion I have. So next up is gonna be conditioner. So conditioner is something that you add to here to make it nice and soft. It also provides a little bit of moisturization, obviously, like everything else here. This card itself is definitely a little bit more on the beaten up side. You can definitely see there's a lot of scratches. There's also a lot of marks here as well too, because it's a little extra dirty. But let's go ahead and apply some conditioner to this card. Ooh, this one smells really, really good. Definitely a lot better than the bacon fat. So this one's really nice and smooth. The toothpaste had like a little bit of resistance as I was wiping across it. This one is just really nice and smooth. So I don't know if that really did anything. Maybe brightened it up a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit more pop, there's a little bit more saturation, but I think there's still a lot of scratches on this one. There's a really, really weird mix of smells right now. I smell bacon fat, I smell lotion, I smell conditioner, I smell car polish.
What is that? It smells like a turd covered in burnt hair.
My senses are really confused right now. But anyways, let's go ahead and look at the next candidate. So we're gonna do petroleum jelly for the next one. And let's go ahead and take a look at this card itself. Now, this one doesn't look as bad as our other cards here, but it definitely still has some scratches. This one, you can also see it's starting to pop as well too. Like it's creating a lot more reflectiveness. Is that a word? It's creating a lot more reflection from the light, that's for sure. Whoa, 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 whoa. 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 Where are the scratches? Okay, I know this card wasn't that scratched, but wow, that really seemed like it did the trick, huh?
If you're liking this video so far, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and leave me a comment so you can automatically enter to win one of these Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs from Paradox Rift.
All right, so next up, we are going to be using lip balm on this one. The lip balm, compared to everything else so far, is definitely one of the more harder substances that we've applied so far. Surprisingly, this is actually looking like it's popping a little more as well too. I mean, there's definitely some notable scratches here. There's some deep scratches as well too. I mean, you could definitely still see there are scratches, but it looks like, yeah, it looks like it definitely did something to the card, that's for sure. Okay, next up is a ceramic coating. So right now, if you don't know, ceramic coats are really popular for cars because what it does is it adds a layer of protection on top of the car. Once it cures into a hard layer, almost like glass, to really, really protect the car a little bit. And it also gives it a lot of polish, a lot of pop. Typically with a car, you actually want to clean the car, polish it first, and then apply this as a last layer on top of the car. It also prevents it from some light scratches and abrasion as well too. But for this card, we're just gonna apply it directly on top without doing any sort of cleaning. And let's go ahead and just see what happens. The smell on this one is definitely really, 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 really strong. I might even caution and say make sure that you're doing this in a really well ventilated area. Wow, this one really pops. But you can see right away, that really did a good job in terms of filling in some of those scratches here, to the point where you almost don't even see that many scratches anymore. Next up is another polish. This one is gonna be granite polish. Like most polishes, like I said, it usually does like a little bit of an abrasion, but then it also fills in the gaps as well too. But the abrasion essentially just evens out the surface, so that way it looks like a clean, smooth surface. So it's looking a little bit like lotion, which is kind of interesting. So I wonder, I mean, definitely don't put this on your skin, that's for sure. That's because this is definitely not lotion. I mean, it definitely reflects and shines a lot more, but you could definitely still see a lot of the scratches. But I think it might have also taken out some of the specks as well too, the dirt specks, that's for sure. So next up, we're gonna actually use a little bit of card polish. So card polish right now is quite popular in the market. So not only just for Pokemon cards, but a lot of people use it for sports card and Yu-Gi-Oh cards and whatnot as well too. So it is a little bit controversial because some people are saying that it essentially alters the card, but I'm just gonna run this as an experiment to see if it actually does anything to the card itself. It's almost kind of waxy, like almost like a candle. This one definitely has a really strong smell to it, but let's go ahead and just apply it to the card itself. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay, you could definitely still see a ton of scratches, but it definitely looks a little bit more polished and it definitely looks a little bit more reflective. You could definitely see that a little bit of life has been added back to the card because the colors definitely seem a little bit more saturated and definitely pops a little bit more, but you could see there's still a ton of scratches on the card itself. I don't know if this one did the best trick out of every single one of them, but we will compare and do a little test once we take the tape off. So let's go ahead and set this one aside, let it go ahead and just set a little bit and move on to the last one. We're gonna go ahead and just use a little bit of water on this one, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This one definitely has some scratches. I wish this one had a little bit of dirt specks on it as well too. So actually, it looks like there's a little bit of some specks up here. We're gonna try to see if we can clean that off with just a little bit of water here. I don't want to soak the card in, so I'm just gonna maybe what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply a little bit like this, and then I'm gonna grab a dry Q-tip and just go around and clean it a little bit just up like so. So let's go ahead and clean that off, wipe it off like every other one. Yeah, I think we definitely cleaned off a little bit of those specks. And I mean, the scratches are definitely still there, but it just definitely looks a little bit cleaner, that's for sure. Like, we definitely cleaned this one up a little bit.
Whoa. Pause the video. I have an announcement to make. The Team Pocket channel is over halfway to 5K. At 5K, we're gonna go live with a huge giveaway. You might be asking, what are we giving away? Well, I have this Darkness Ablaze PSA 10 Charizard, a couple of ETBs, and not just one booster box, 2 booster box, and 3 booster boxes. Plus, we're gonna be giving away exclusive Team Pocket merch you can only get at the 5K live stream. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because once we hit 5K, we're gonna give all of this and more away. Okay, now back to the video. So these cards have sat for a little while, and let's go ahead and take the tape off and we compare the left side to the right side and see what sort of effect some of these products had on the card itself. So let's go ahead and start off with the water. I mean, you can definitely see there's still some specks on the left side here because we didn't clean that with water. But aside from that, if you look at the card itself, there's no apparent differences between the left side and the right side.
It doesn't matter if you choose left or right because they're both chewy, crunchy, and delicious.
All right, next one we're gonna wanna look at is, let's go ahead and take a look at the lip balm one. Okay, first things first, compared to water, you can see there's a line right down the middle here. That is probably where the tape was. Perhaps it's a little bit less micro scratches comparing the left side to the right side, but what do y'all think? Leave me a comment below. Let me know which one you think actually worked the best in terms of this experiment of removing scratches from the card. Let's go ahead and now take a look at the card polish. I mean, you could definitely see there's a lot of scratches on the left side. On the right side, you could definitely see the scratches too, but it's not necessarily as apparent. The right side, again, looks just a little bit more reflective, a little bit more clean. Yeah, I definitely cleaned it up a little bit, filled in some of the scratches, because over here, you can definitely see there's a lot of scratches, and then over here, there's still scratches, but not as much. Okay, next up, let's take a look at the petroleum jelly. Whoa, this one, I think you can definitely see there's a pretty big difference. It definitely looks a lot more smooth. A lot of the fine scratches are almost non-existent on this one, but look at that. Okay, next up is the lotion. I don't think the lotion did as much. I mean, compared to the petroleum jelly, which was much more apparent between the left side and the right side, I don't think the lotion really did anything, really. There's no apparent differences between the left side and the right side. So yeah, I don't think lotion really did much here.
It doesn't matter if you choose left or right because they're both chewy, crunchy, and delicious.
Next up, we got toothpaste. So on the hollow itself, you can actually see there's a little bit of like toothpaste residue left over from when I swiped it across. I don't know if that's just covering the scratches more so than filling it in. But I mean, if you take a look at the left side and the right side and compare the two, you could definitely see there's more scratches here on the left side. On the right side, it is not as apparent, except for maybe the residue from the toothpaste. So let me go ahead and grab, actually, let me go ahead and just grab a cotton swab here.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Oh, there's a lot of resistance. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but as I'm trying to wipe this card off, there's a lot of resistance to wipe off the toothpaste here. So yeah, I think I might have honestly just made it a little worse because the toothpaste is probably starting to dry out a little bit. I might even say that the toothpaste did more than the lotion in terms of hiding some of the scratches. So yeah, super interesting. Okay, next up, we have conditioner. So you can see the specks that are on the card did not come off with the conditioner. And if you look at the left side and the right side, I'm not really confident that it did much either to the card. Yeah, I think conditioner is similar to lotion and water, which didn't really do much. And it's interesting, if you think about like all the stuff that we have on the table right now, right? If you take a look at lotion, conditioner, and water are some of the more liquid-like substances that we actually applied on the card. And I don't know if that has any sort of effect in terms of whether it is as effective or not in terms of removing the scratches. All right, let's go ahead and put that one down. And let's take a look at granite polish. Immediately, if you pull away, you can definitely see the right side is a little bit more reflective. And obviously, I left a little bit of residue. Actually, is that a residue? Is that oh, actually, no, that's not residue. That's just a bend on the card itself. So the left side, you can definitely see there's a lot of marring, there's a lot of scratches. And on the right side, you can definitely still see there's some marring and some scratches as well too, but it's not as obvious as the left side here. And I'm gonna do like a rolling shot like this. Yeah, I think the left side, you could just see that it's a little bit more abrasive, a little bit more worn than the right side. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ceramic coating. So this one I'm the most interested in because ceramic coats for cars really do a good job filling in the scratches. So let's go ahead and see what it did to the card. Wow, whoa. Actually, look at that, whoa. Look at this. I mean, you can still see some of the scratches, but the finer scratches are like almost all non-existent and much more polished and much shinier as well too in terms of reflective surface. Wow. That was actually really, really impressive. So if the ceramic coating is so good, let's go and take a look and see if the car wax did a good job as well too. So when I bought this car wax, I chose specifically car wax that has carnauba wax in it and no SiO2. So SiO2 is just another phrase for ceramic coating. These days, a lot of the car wax spray that you actually purchase has ceramic coating in it. This one I purchased without ceramic coating, so that way there's an actual difference between the ceramic coating and the car wax. But let's take a look. So again, I don't really see big differences between the left side and right side. I mean, I can see there's a line down the middle here, but again, that could just be some substance left over that I didn't really clean off very well from the tape. Yeah, surprisingly, I don't think car wax actually did that much. And if you remember, car wax was also a little bit more liquidy as well too. Whereas ceramic coating is definitely liquidy, but it's sort of designed to sort of fill in. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing for car wax as well too, but I'm just really surprised that car wax didn't really do as much for the card. It's definitely still pretty scratched up. So the one you've all been waiting for, bacon fat. Let's go ahead and see what the bacon fat did to the card itself. I could still smell the bacon fat off this card, which is kind of gross. So definitely don't do this to your cards, okay? Don't put bacon fat on your cards. So from afar, looks about the same. I wouldn't really say there's a major difference from like afar, but up close. Okay, so on the right side, you definitely see a lot more scratch. You can see a lot of the scratches as well too, but maybe the micro scratches are a little bit more filled in. Oh my God, when I'm holding up the camera like this, I can actually smell the bacon, and it's kind of gross to smell bacon off of a Pokemon card. Yeah, the bacon fat, surprisingly, was a little bit like the petroleum jelly, actually, in terms of removing scratches. Let's go ahead and assign a score to everything, okay? So, lip balm. I'm gonna go ahead and give this on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm actually gonna give this like a 7 or 8, okay? So, that actually did a pretty good job. So, let's take a look at the card polish, not car polish. Yeah, this one, I don't know if it did as much. I'll give it maybe like a 4, maybe like a 3. So petroleum jelly. So this one is really surprising. Petroleum jelly, I'll probably give this like an 8 or a 9 in terms of removing the scratches. I mean, this one did a pretty good job. So that one I think surprised me the most. Okay, lotion, I'm gonna have to give it like a 1. So toothpaste, I think because of the residue that's left over, I'm probably gonna give this one like a 4 or 5, like right in the middle of the road, okay? Conditioner, so I think I'm gonna rate this one the same one as lotion, which is around like a 1 or 2, because maybe even like a 0 to be honest. I don't really see any differences between the left side and right side. So granite polish, probably like a 5 or 6. So ceramic coatings, even some of the major scratches are not as apparent anymore. And it's also super reflective as well too. So this one, I'm definitely gonna give like an 8 or a 9 in terms of how effective this was. Next one is car wax. I mean, you can't really even tell the difference between the left side and right side. So this one is probably gonna be closer to a 1 or a 2. Moving on to bacon fat. I don't think this is as good as the petroleum jelly or the ceramic coating, but it still did a pretty decent job. So I would land this probably between a 7 or 8. Although I have to subtract some points because one, I think this card is gonna get pretty gross if I leave it alone for a little while. And also, it smells like bacon. I mean, bacon smells great, but it smells like bacon on a Pokemon card. I might lower this one back down to like a 5. So when I was cleaning this off with water, the specks just came right off, which was actually kind of surprising for water. So I would rate this one in terms of effectiveness for removing scratches, probably like a 1, because it didn't really do much. But in terms of just cleaning off the card for the specs and whatnot, that was actually pretty impressive, not gonna lie. Quick science break. A lot of the lighter scratches that you see on this card are on the top coat of the card. And with some of the deeper scratches, you'll see even the hollow foil or even the cardstock. So, how are some of the lighter scratches on this card being repaired? Pretend this is your card, and this is the top coat that goes on top of your card. And these little gel balls here, they represent the scratches that are on your card. The reason why you can see these gel balls is because of the peaks and the valleys in between the gel balls. You see, when the light reflects and refracts off these gel balls in a really inconsistent manner, it makes these gel balls really stick out, just like your scratches. Now what we did is we took a substance and we filled in those empty spaces. So when the light reflects and refracts off this really even and uniform surface, the gel balls are invisible, just like the scratches.
Yes, science!
Which is what this experiment is all about. But there's one big question remaining. Should you repair scratches to your own Pokemon cards? Well, repairing Pokemon cards is still a hotly debated topic in the Pokemon community. On one hand, it's your card, so you are free to do whatever you want to it. On the other, if the card finds a new owner, it could be considered not original anymore. And unlike cards or artwork, there might not be a way to detect the repairs and non-original work. I also couldn't find anything conclusive online about what these products do to the cards long term. I mean, this bacon one,
is already starting to smell pretty gross. So until we know what the long-term effects are, and it is both detectable and traceable, which makes all of this accountable, it's always going to be a hotly debated topic in the Pokemon community. Thanks for watching. See you next time.